Well, we're getting to the point that maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Rebuilding these Yellowstone Park coaches. I'm working on this 11 now, getting these side panels on. I got the right side on last time. Now I get to do the left side. Should be pretty much the same. This left side might be a little overbent as well, but now we know we can bring it into place and should be able to make it work. So with my bottom pretty close to my main frame, I need to fit my joints front and rear and get this going. So now with my right side and my left side body panels on, I think the next step I want to do is put on that back panel behind the rear seat. And I'm going to try an approach that I haven't used before. When they did this initially, they had bigger trees than we do now, and this was put on in two panels. The bottom one was steamed, and then the top one possibly was as well, but it's not as severe a bend. Well, I have done this with the 1/8 inch laminating plywood that I mentioned before. This being 1/8 inch, I would take 3 layers and just laminate them together, and that would give me my 3/8 panel. And it was very solid, very strong, very secure. And when I was at the lumber yard, I was talking to them about this 1/8 inch poplar panel for bending, and they said, have you ever tried this 3/8 bending ply? It's made just for that purpose. It bends just one direction. They call it the barrel bend. And this comes in 4x8 sheets, and you can get it to where it will also bend this direction. But they had this style, and it is fairly flexible. It's considered 9mm, so it's just a fuzz under 3/8, but it's really close. And for those of you that are in the commercial cabinet trade, especially for hospitals or offices, some of these countertops have round ends underneath the counters. Well, this is the material that they use to make that with. It bends really fairly tightly, but this direction against that bend, it doesn't bend hardly at all. It's just like plywood, but it's flexible one direction. So I thought I'd try it on this back panel of this Yellowstone coach. The overall width that I need at the widest point is just over 45 inches. I'll probably maybe go 45.5. And where they put it on in 2 pieces and there was a seam in the middle, I can probably do this in 1 piece. And to do that, I need about 38 inches. So 45.5 by 38. And in order to get this installed, I actually need these irons out of the way, because this flush mount edge here is at a bevel, and then it steps down to where this arm comes in and it has to be straight. And then it stair steps also down toward the bottom. So I need to take these irons off. Well, I'd actually like to do this without removing the top. So I'm going to make me a little stand that will support the top while I take the back irons off. See if I can sneak this in here. Yeah, I could have made my stand just a little taller. But with a couple shims, I can get it turned loose of my irons. See how that works. There we go. So if I don't rock the boat too bad, that might work. When I look at the old back, we can see the screw patterns that they put in to hold these panels in place. The outside ones are zigzagged every maybe 3 inches, and they aren't even super symmetrical. But the one that comes down the center rib, those are about every 3 inches, right down the middle. And these screws seem to be just very slightly indented, and there's a hint that they were filled with some sort of filler. I mentioned earlier how big some of these trees were. This panel comes up underneath this secondary framework. This is a top frame that I have on my back right now. So this panel here was a 26-inch wide board. 1 piece. Pretty impressive. Let's see if I can kind of dry run this. So I was kind of concerned that as flexible as it is, if we would be rigid enough between the framework. Outside frame is about here, my center here. It's actually pretty solid. On this old one, you can see there is a bumper here. This is where the center rib is, and then there's two more of these bumper irons here. It's made for the luggage to stop up against this and not gouge on that panel. So that center frame is about here, and these two other irons are going to come out here. That's stronger than I expected. So as we continue to bend this around, see that wants to come right into this joint here, which that one's going to fit really nice. This other side, well, it's not bad. It's going to fit right there. Put a bar clamp here. See if we can kind of hold that where it's going to go. This side also. Kind of mark out placement in the center frame. So I'd kind of like to remove some of this excess. So these heavy irons inside have got two bolts that are going to come through the sandwiching iron on the outside, and I want to make sure I mark these placements so that I don't put a screw in the wrong place coming down this panel. So one bolt is about right here, and the second bolt looks like it's about right here. So it appears that they came in roughly 2 inches on this one row of screws, and they came in a strong 3, maybe 3 1/4 on the second row of screws, and then zigzag between the two. Roughly something there, and about like there. I guess the best way to know where to hide these screws under the iron is put the iron on. So I need to miss these two places, and these screws can go in anywhere underneath this iron. So you can see underneath these bumpers, there's screws also into that 1-inch frame that comes down. There's one there, one there, one there, one there. About every 3.5 inches. So it's on this 1-inch frame here that this bumper is going to attach. So I want to find the center for this frame, and then the one on the other side. So I'm going to back drill this hole for the 1-inch frame. Do it on the bottom here as well. That'll give me my placement of my screws on the other side, and I can straight line between the two so I know that my screws will be centered on this frame. And I want to do the same on these other two. That'll tell me where my screws need to go. So I'd like the screws in this panel here not to interfere with any of these screws here. So maybe this will be my screw placement. So these zigzag about every 3 inches. And then when we come down to this outside iron, we're going to keep them underneath that iron. Somewhere like so. Well, when I first picked up this bending plywood, I was a little skeptical whether it was going to have enough strength because it is just so flexible. But the other direction, there's no flexibility to it at all. So I think once it's glued onto that framework, evidence seems to show it's going to be pretty strong. I've done this before with this 1/8" bending plywood, and I just stick all 3 layers on and laminate them, and then when that's set, it is super strong. But it's a real mess to do when you have 3 layers all lined out with glue on them. So I'm looking forward to this. I did get an extra sheet thinking that maybe I would try it for the body panels on that 8-passenger and do it the length this way to where these could curve up toward the front and rear. But seeing that it has no flexibility this way, I don't think it would make the contour of the body, so that's out. I do have enough other poplar that I'm going to plane down to 3/8, and I'll steam bend it traditionally like they should. So on the bottom part of this rear curve frame, there is one section that is kind of an open void, so I marked that out on my panel so I don't have to put glue on that, so that when I add glue to my patterns here, I have it kind of marked out that I don't need glue here, but I'll add glue to all these other places. So I think I have everything thought out to where it's ready to go on. Well, that was a challenge. This bending ply wanted to do kind of a wavy waffle. So when I put this 1/4 inch ash behind it, it put a little more of a consistent bend and did really even that out. Looks much nicer now. But there's just no way about it. That was a challenge. I really didn't know what to expect because I've never done this before. But it seemed to work. Just had to inch it down piece by piece. Seemed to have nice contact because there's glue squishing out of the joints on all these. So it sucked up nice and tight. Even up nice and high we have glue squishing out. So that's always a good sign. So I think we just need to let it set. Let that glue adhere, and then I'll go back and make sure all my screws are recessed just a bit. These are going to get covered, these get puttied. We just have to wait. Hurry up and wait, huh? Appreciate coming along. Thanks for watching.